news on the newspaper page. Another tradition of the grand design. Some people say it's even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls.
Hello, and welcome back to the Fae Banner Review, where we talk about everyone's long-awaited banner of the year, Choose Your Legends. And with this being a momentous time in Fae, what better way to go about this banner review than with my co-host for today? Ivy, please come onto the stage. How are you doing today, Ivy? This isn't about you. This is about Choose Your Legends 9. And speaking of which, today we have a brand new Brave banner featuring Male Byleth, Balder, Eikthenir, and Sharena. Truly the biggest OC sweep we have seen to date. And as per tradition, I will be using this coveted line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day to rank the brand new Brave banner. Today's ranking will be based on how interesting the banner is overall. And because this is a special occasion, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll have better luck on your banner summons. Thank you. First up, we have Byleth, and I can tell you that no matter what they did with him, people were going to be upset. Sothis Regalia for the people who don't like the fit, or anything that wasn't that was going to rub salt in the wound for female Robin's Brave alt. The Academy outfit was a really good choice though, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see, Byleth comes with Sublime Creator, which is a slaying distant counter sword that grants allies within 3 rows and columns, Spectrum 5, null penalties, and 7 HP when they attack. Byleth himself also gets penalty neutralization during combat, a bunch of stats, upwards of 25 true damage and 15 true damage reduction, and when the foe triggers a special, he gets double the amount of true damage reduction, and he gets 7 HP after combat. Byleth can also use the style Sublime Heaven that allows him to attack from 3 spaces away. He gets a special jump of 1 before his first attack, and 20% extra damage against beasts and dragons when he triggers a special every 2 turns. On top of a PRF skill in Prof's Guidance that grants Spectrum 9 during combat, 7 true damage, 7 true damage reduction, 50% damage reduction piercing, potent follow 100%, and Prof's Guidance and null follow-up to himself and allies within 3 spaces as well as Time's Pulse. And the Prof's Guidance status grants Valor, Spectrum 5, -1 cooldown after combat, and allows any special skill to trigger their damage reduction twice. Make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. I'm not even through 1 Brave alt and I already feel burnt out. There is a lot to digest here, but I think the big takeaway is that he's got a lot of combat potential. And not in the potential man way. The ability to swing from 3 spaces away is really, really good, effectively giving him 5 range to work with at minimum. You could kind of think of him as an infantry Emblem Erica, except without the Brave. Or I guess with the Brave, because it's Brave Byleth. They both have the same threat range if he has extra movement, but you'll definitely want to get him other skills like Brutal Tempest to really get him going. And it's funny, because if you also give him the Celica ring, then he effectively becomes a 7 ranged nuke, and I really wish they'd stop increasing threat range like this. However, one massive issue that will come about with this strategy is that all of his combat tools are tied to 3 spaces, including the A slot. If you do warp that far, then you really need to have a way to secure kills, because he's effectively working with a Silver Sword Plus at that point. Still, just on the metric of his style alone, I think he can do a lot already, and his support isn't even half bad either. Might be more than half depending on how much you value Valor. Byleth also comes with a bunch of inheritables including Gust, Attack Speed Faith, and a brand new beast slot in Null Sea Avoid, which grants Phantom Speed +7, 80% AoE damage reduction, attack and speed debuffs on the foe during combat, upwards of 15 true damage, 20% speed-based true damage reduction, and Null Sea Disrupt. It's cool, yeah. I'm glad we're getting more infantry B-slot options that aren't just Lagoo's friend because they've been lacking on those for a good bit. Although, interestingly, beasts and dragons can't use it, so I guess Byleth's hatred for them carried over to the inheritable side as well. If it came between this, Potent Finish, and Lagoo's friend, I think in terms of firepower, you'll probably want Potent Finish still, but it just depends on the unit, I feel. It's not like Byleth needs it anyway since he has innate Potent 100%, and mixed phase units will probably appreciate the extra damage reduction instead of the extra damage, but it does depend on what you're really trying to get out of any unit. Either way, it is another option for infantry swords, lances, and axes, which is always good. And for the resident Emblem Sigurd haters as well. And other than that, that sure is Byleth. I think he has a lot of potential to be really good in all sorts of game modes, especially Aetherite's defense with that style. I think the only unfortunate part is that his style only works every 2 turns, which, you know, it's not an absolute deal breaker, and I'm not going to make it sound like it's really that bad, but it just means you have to be a bit more conscious of it. Either way, he's still looking to be a really good unit, but I'm also not sure if I'd call him the best of the 4 when there's some other really stupid stuff on this banner. And speaking of which, next there's Baldur, and for her neutral special, she wields a gun. If her kit is just as long as Byleth's, then I'm gonna pull out my own neutral special. Let's see. Baldur comes with Truth Seeker, which is a slaying bow that grants IOT shield, extra movement to herself, as well as 50% damage reduction piercing, and breath statuses to herself and allies within 2 spaces at the start of the turn. She gets a bunch of stats during combat, upwards of 25 true damage reduction based on 20 to 50% of her speed stat based on whether she has a triangle disadvantage, another 20 to 50% if the foe triggers a special, and she neutralizes breath effects on the foe during combat. Baldur can also use the style Green Style, which is an incredibly stupid name. Green Style turns her from a blue unit to a green unit, giving her a weapon triangle advantage against blue foes. On top of a PRF slot in Heaven's Stead that grants cancel remaining, inflicts triangle depth and exposure on the closest foes and any foe within 2 spaces of the target at the start of the turn. She gets more stats during combat, 7 true damage, 7 true damage reduction, full no follow-up, and if the foe either has exposure active or if she has a weapon triangle advantage, she gets brave hits during combat. I'm actually surprised this was a bit more digestible. The clear takeaway from all this is that Baldur is a really interesting and funny player phase nuke. Interesting because we now have units that can manipulate the weapon triangle, allowing her to have obscene levels of damage output and tanking capabilities against every non-colorless unit in the game, especially with her triangle depth status. And funny because I have a messed up sense of humor thinking that this is a reasonable thing in the current year of Fae. I guess this is the good way of making the weapon triangle mean something, right? The statuses she gives out are also pretty nice for the most part. Damage reduction piercing is one of those better safe than sorry statuses against foes that might have it, but it is always welcome no matter what. Breath is also generally nice for special manipulation stuff, even if it is a bit weaker currently. Honestly, with the amount of true damage reduction she's getting, she could probably eat a lot of hits in the enemy phase as well, but for her primary role as a nuke, I don't see how she's going to struggle that much against most non-colorless foes. Brave hits, adaptable triangle depth, high threat range, damage reduction piercing, and so much more. I don't think there's a lot else they could have given her to really stand out as a nuke. And I don't think there's anything else I wanted them to give her because it's already really difficult to digest all this stuff as is. Baldur also comes with Speed Taker 4, Deadly Miasma, and a brand new inheritable special in Arch Rival or Arch Rival. You're going to tell me I'm wrong either way. I give up. It's a 5 cooldown special that boosts the unit's damage by 80% of the higher of the unit's or foe's attack stat, grants 40% damage reduction on the foe's first hit, inflicts guard on the foe, and if the unit has a weapon triangle advantage, they get 2 special jumps, and delays the foe's special by 2 before the unit's first attack. Okay, so this is very clearly designed to be the Black Knight counter, and I'm wondering how that's going to go because of everything she has in her kit. However, wouldn't this special be really good on armors? Even ignoring any of the conditions, innate guard and unconditional damage reduction is pretty good, even if the actual damage output suffers for it. No guard effects aren't too common right now, including Baby Camilla and, funnily enough, Black Knight, who completely lack it. The only concern mostly lies with the triangle advantage condition for the special manipulation effect, since it's going to be really inconsistent for many units, but if you don't care about that, then it seems pretty great, honestly. And I really do like the idea of that, and the special being pretty flexible on the inherent side makes it all the better. It can be used by any physical weapon type excluding beasts and by any movement type in that regard. And for some reason, colorless daggers and bows can also use it despite having a weapon triangle clause baked into the special, but if you only wanted a special that partially worked on some units, then this is the special for you.
Not to hear! Zappy!
And other than that, that sure is Baldur. I think she's going to be someone you need to look out for because between all of her damage reduction capabilities, nuking prowess with Brave and the triangle depth stuff, and color swapping, she's probably going to be a really insane nuke. Of course, they could always release an armor that tanks everything again, but what are the odds of that? And then there's Eikthenir, and he is, in fact, the odds of that. He's dressed up as his dad, and you know what that means. Let's see. Eikthenir comes with Tempered Antler, and why is it scrolling?
Oh,
What the frick is fringe bonus? Oh lord have mercy.
Whoa, did you see that? Did you see how long that weapon was? Did you just see that? Okay, let's try to break this one down. His weapon has built-in slaying and barricade, aka the anti-warp skill. He gets a bunch of attack, defense, and res bonuses during combat, true damage based on the highest visible stat total between himself and allies, true damage reduction based on 50% of the same condition, double the amount of true damage reduction if a foe triggers a special, extra visible attack and distant counter when transformed, and at the start of the player phase or enemy phase, he grants attack and defense bonuses, a brand new fringe bonus status, the dull status, and no panic to himself and allies within 2 spaces, and increases the visible stat total by 3 extra points after. Fringe bonus, meanwhile, is the bonus doubler 4 status, which we saw earlier this year with Duo Marth, on top of his PRF special Mighty Roar, which is a 3 cooldown special that boosts his damage by 60% of his defense stat. He gets 40% special damage reduction, special jumps based on the highest visible stat total divided by 12, hardy bearing if he has more defense than the foe, and at the start of the player or enemy phase, he grants res plus 6 and magic twin save to the ally with the highest res stat or his ally support. And magic twin save allows a unit with the status to act as a savior against magic, staff, and dragon foes, nullifies adaptive damage, and allows special damage reduction to work twice per combat. So before anything else, I would like to point out that they shrunk the size of the text in these skills. His kit is also so long that the trailer paused for a bit and then continued the scroll again. Is that not a sign of that being a bit too much? But yeah, as far as Eikthenir is concerned, this unit is really disgusting. Of course, being the modern armor that he is, he's going to live most things and hit back really hard, especially with all the true damage and true damage reduction he can get based on an easy amount of stackable stats, special jumps for special spamming, and hardy bearing for no priority manipulation. He's going to be pretty annoying to take down without a really strong dedicated melee nuke, and that's not even including any of his support with his anti-warp and statuses. Honestly, I think he replaced Brave Soren entirely. Of course, it's worth mentioning that magic twin save is not a replacement for the far save that Soren gives out, but there aren't really any ranged units that can make use of that status currently. Eikthenir could cover all of the physical threats, including Emblem Erica, while a competent enough ally can cover for the rest of the weapon types, but the big difference between the two is that magic twin save isn't ranged locked. You could use this on any unit that doesn't have a savior effect in their kit, including arguably his strongest ally, Duo Marth, since you could give out Spectrum 10 visible and have Marth protect allies from those threats with his innate NCD advantage. There are definitely other options you can take advantage of though, but that's going to need a lot of testing and barrack checking. Either way, the potential for it is much higher than Soren, and I don't see him making a return even after his refine. Eikthenir's combat and support is just that good in my opinion. Don't come back to this part of the video if it turns out he loses the baby Camilla. Eikthenir also comes with Swap Gate, Attack Defense Fortune, Assault Force, and a brand new savior skill in Attack Defense Briar P save. That is a mouthful that allows any armor to protect allies from sword, lance, axe, bow, dagger, and beast foes during combat. This is clearly meant to work with Eikthenir specifically, but I really do like the skill overall. I think one of the most annoying things we had this year was Erica's style being able to ignore far saves, which, you know, it makes sense considering what it is, but it's still way too strong. I don't think you'll be using this alongside other saviors until we get a version that specifically covers the other weapon types, since you can run into issues with saviors not going off at all if the weapon types do overlap. But worst case scenario, you could always swap out a save for another one if you don't want to run into any issues like that. It's definitely going to be a lot more useful anywhere that the player can freely control it, but other than that, it is just generic armor fodder. And Swap Gate. There's the monkey's paw for anyone who wanted a new gate skill, by the way. You're welcome. And other than that, that sure is Dear Dude. I don't think it's an understatement to say he's absurdly strong as a tank and support. There's honestly nothing I dislike about him as a unit whatsoever, and I think he knows that himself. He's really out here flexing over every other Brave unit here with everything he has. They even had him doing that in the Fade channel, so yeah, they're aware. And last, but really first, because they want Choose Your Legends 9, we have Shayne. I know it was expected for her outfit to be based on Henriette, but I gotta say, Extremely missed opportunity here. Let's see. Shayne comes with a weapon that I don't want to try and pronounce. It's a slaying green tome that grants a bunch of attack and speed during combat, upwards of 25 true damage, full no follow-up, 7 HP to herself after combat, and potent 100%. It also grants Gale Force to any ally within 3 spaces of her after their combat once per turn, on top of a PRF skill in Just Like Mother that grants Canto Distance, extra attack and speed during combat, 7 true damage, Miracle, Gale Force, and re-enables her Canto if an ally initiates combat within 3 spaces of her once per turn, and at the start of the player or enemy phase, she grants Empathy and Creation Pulse as statuses to herself and allies within 3 spaces. Very short but effective, although that's by proxy of the other Brave kits, which, you know, I don't think that means a lot, but still. Also, Faye acknowledging how long this stuff is doesn't make it any better.
Well, let's see. So, if the enemy has negative status effects, then a lot of good things happen for Shayne and her allies. Got it.
At the very least, she's very straightforward as a unit and arguably really strong to boot as an Aetherite's offense unit. With the update to the safety fence, you could reasonably bring her along with other notable nukes and still clear several units before the defense team can do anything in retaliation. I'm not too sure how good her combat prowess is going to be, but assuming you could get around any present far save, I think it will be good enough to deal with most other foes on a defense team. It really is just saviors holding back ranged nukes at the moment. Also, I do like that the ally Gale Force doesn't get consumed if they can already trigger an effect that grants them another action like Gale Force, so it can't get easily used up by mistake. All of the extra actions in her kit really do make her an ideal Aetherite's offense unit if you're currently struggling in that mode. Can I also just say it's really weird seeing inheritable skills as statuses now? I wonder if that's going to be something they do more of down the line. Could you imagine a Speed Taker status, or Lagoo's Friend, or the Fire Emblem? Wait, we already have that. Shayne also comes with Magic Light and 2 new inheritable skills in Attack Speed Area, I know I butchered that again, and Speed Res Shackle. Attack Speed Aria grants attack and speed bonuses based on the maximum special cooldown count plus a flat 7, and extra damage when a special triggers based on 3 to 5 times the special cooldown count. And Speed Res Shackle inflicts speed and res penalties on the foe during combat, grants upwards of 15 true damage, and at the start of the turn and after taking in action, it inflicts the Speed Shackle and Res Shackle penalties on closest foes and foes within 2 spaces, and those statuses inflict penalties to their respective stat based on the amount of penalties active on the foe for a maximum of 8. I kind of like these skills. They're not too overpowered, but they do decent enough things, especially the B-slot being another supportive option. Although Aurora is locked to staves and tomes, it seems, and Speed Res Shackle seems to work on any magic-based flyer and cav unit, so I'm not too sure how often it'll be used besides on Brave Shayne. Still, they're pretty decent skills for the most part, especially the B-slot, since it can also help allies' combats as well, and more options for units is always just a good thing, so why not? Just wish they'd give options to archetypes that need it, though. And other than that, that sure is Shayne. She's definitely going to shine a lot in Aetherite's offense, and if you're still a player that cares about that mode for some reason, then she'll probably be worth grabbing. Also, her kit isn't stupidly difficult to read, which means she's a contender for the best freebie choice. And speaking of free, we also have our freebie Grand Hero Battle unit in Bruno. He's a Blue Tome Cavalry unit that has innate vantage and gives out Anathema and guaranteed follow-up statuses, and that's all we know. Okay, bye!
Bruno!
And now that we've gone over the brand new Brave units, I think it's time we rank the banner on the line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new Brave banner has earned a 9 out of 10. On the line graph. For those who don't get it, the joke is that it's Choose Your Legends 9. Given that this is the most anticipated banner of the year, you probably have figured out whether you want to summon on this banner or not, so instead of trying to convince you one way or another, let me at least pass on some wisdom. Between the 4 Brave heroes, I want to say that Eikthenir is the best one here. He's a really tanky save unit that gives out incredible statuses, also standing out from Soren since he could give his savior bonus to any unit he's supported with, as long as it doesn't overlap with other savior skills. It's definitely not the most enticing playstyle for sure, but I don't think there's a better savior unit at the moment besides Rhea and Legendary Black Knight, and thanks to his support, I feel like he's going to last a good while. at least 3 months. If you're in need of a fantastic Aetherids offense unit, then Shayne is definitely the next best pick in my opinion, especially with the new safety fence update. Having a unit that can effectively give allies the Brave Felix effect is really good for clearing up several units before they can move. I think she'll shine there more than any other mode, so I'd take her if you're in need of something like that. Baldur is also a really cool nuke, and I'm wondering how far the weapon triangle manipulation thing will take her. She still has an obscene amount of true damage reduction, and being able to change her typing can allow her to get snipes more often than it seems on the surface. I could see her doing a lot of work as a nuke. And while I am mentioning Byleth last, I still think he's a very good unit too. He could be a really solid Aetherids defense unit thanks to his style, and between the 4 of them, I still think he has the second highest potential as a Summoner Duels unit, but he might need a bit of a kit overhaul. Not that the new B slot and Faith are bad by any means, but I think he's going to want more offensive tools like Brutal Tempest with the Erica ring, so he could also function as a really potent 6th ranged initiator. But if that's not a feasible option for many people, then I still think his base kit works pretty well for the most part. Also, Omniveiler, that's pretty peak. And honestly, this might be the strongest Choose Your Legends batch we've had to date. And I'm not just saying that because of the font size being smaller or that they have scroll wheels now. They're all really good pickups for different reasons, so I would take your priorities into consideration. That said, I know some people aren't interested in this Brave banner, so if you'd rather save your orbs for something else or use it anywhere else, I'd probably suggest either waiting until the end of the month or looking towards the current banners we do have. Every Emblem hero except Ike is going to be rerunning at the end of the month, so it is a pretty good time to get caught up on rings if you are missing any. And the shares themselves are looking to be pretty good too if the options available are any indication. Meanwhile, the T banner is really fantastic unit-wise and fodder-wise, but it's going to last for a while longer if you'd rather wait to see what comes up first. And of course, the Hero Fest banner has some really absurd units on it and a more easily mergeable light mythic if you are in need of that. But if you don't care about any of that stuff, then I would probably just hold off, especially since we're due for a new emblem next month. Not to mention, Brave heroes get reran so often with better rates at times that you don't really have to rush to get them if you don't want to, TBH. 2BH. To be quite H. Man, this year has been flying by really fast, and that might be really crazy to grasp, but you've made it this far, so regardless of whatever any CYL poll says, we are all winners at the end of the day. Even you, Ivy. So until next time, thanks for watching, and happy summoning. Ivy still lost Choose Your Legends.